What do Randy's Donuts, a Hollywood parking lot papal announcement, and a Back to the Future dance party on the Universal backlot have in common? They were all part of our unforgettable family trip to LA. Welcome to Pop Culture Passport, your ultimate guide to quirky and cool destinations across the US. I'm your host, Beth Scalacci, aka the Roman Yeti, here to help you dive into the world of theme parks, uncover film and TV locations, and explore quirky museums, roadside attractions, and legendary venues that capture the heart and soul of this unique country. So grab your pop culture passport and let's discover destinations that resonate with your interest, not just with what's trending on social media. Are you ready? Let's roam! Welcome back. If you've been following along, you know we took a family vacation to Los Angeles in May, and we packed a lot into those 9 days. Some of those adventures I'll share in this episode. Some are going to get their own future spotlight, and a few, well, I'm just keeping those just for the family. I've always struggled with creating content during family trips. I want to be in the moment, but I also want to take notes, photos, videos, maybe even track down a cryptid or two if possible, if you know what I mean. But it's a lot. Like, and this time I decided it had to be different. Was a traveler first, soaking it all in, and a storyteller second, scribbling down what I wanted to remember as well as what I might want to share with you later. I let go of that pressure to capture every single detail, and I just leaned into the experience. And honestly, I think the stories are coming out a little better, and I know the vacation was a lot better. So, in this episode, we're going to take a peek into my travel journal, and I'm going to share highlights from our way too short visit to Disneyland and California Adventure, recap a very fun and very fandom filled night at Universal's FanFest, and then I'm going to try something new with the rest of the LA trip. So, let's head to California, shall we? Now, before I dive into the parks, a quick pro tip of mine. This is a new tip. We've only done it once, but we're going to do it from here on out. If you ever fly into LAX on a morning flight, especially one of those coming from the East Coast like we did, do yourself a favor and stop at Randy's Donuts. I was skeptical. Listen, I'm like, yeah, whatever. No, the donuts were genuinely great. I don't even really like donuts all that much. And the cold brew, man, that just hit the spot that morning. So after an early flight, it was the pick me up we needed. And honestly, I think we sort of declared it's going to be a new family tradition whenever we go out to LA and have a rental car. So, you know, take that information how you want, but it was good. I had a red velvet donut. Again, I'm not a big donut eater, but I really enjoyed that one, and it was worth the stop. It was a good refuel because we hit the road hard afterwards. So we actually ended our trip at Disneyland Resort, but I'm going to start with it here in the beginning of the episode because I think it just fits better with story flow. And, we had started planning this trip a while ago, and we had no idea it was going to coincide with the 70th anniversary celebration launching while we were there. And, of course, the first day we went on a Thursday and we were in Disneyland, and then on Friday our reservation was for California Adventure. And of course, it was that Friday that the anniversary kicked off. So we were not in Disneyland proper, the park for the kickoff, the launch of the anniversary, but we we made the best of it. Now, even though we did miss the launch, the park was already decked out in decorations, the merch had arrived, and you could really just feel sort of that excitement of what was going on. We chose not to do park hopper tickets. They were going to add like $100 to our ticket, and we knew we were only there for 2 days. So we just, like I said, we did Disneyland first, and then California Adventure on the first day of the anniversary. And, we walked into Disneyland and wow, like, I get emotional walking into Magic Kingdom, but wow, Main Street Disneyland, and I've been there before, but it hit hard. Like, I think it was some of the other places we had visited during the week, that had to do with Walt. And so just walking in there where he walked, it was just something entirely. Even with that small little castle. I love that small little castle there in Disneyland. I know there's always jokes between Disneyland and Disney World and their castles. I love them both. Um, but I don't know, again, just knowing Walt and knowing what they went through to build that place and being there, it's like part museum, honestly. Disneyland has so many classic rides that and just so many rides. One day really doesn't do it justice. We made the most of it. We we got to the rides we really wanted to. I got on Indiana Jones. I love that ride. Um, and we did a lot, actually. But the one thing I did while, John and Julia were on in queues for, I think Space Mountain, I just strolled up and down Main Street, and I gotta tell you, it was one of my favorite parts of the day and of the trip. There's just looking at the window tributes and just feeling people come see the castle for the first time, and it just was really relaxing. Um, an enjoyable park day. I do have to say, I always forget this about Disneyland. They have like cars coming up and down Main Street, transport like a transport. We do not normally have that at Magic Kingdom, so there were a few times I was like, "Ooh," I had to stop in my tracks and not get run over. So, anyone going from Disney World to Disneyland, be sure to check both ways crossing the street. Um, but I don't know, it was a really fun day. We did a lot of the rides, but it was a it was a tiring day. I honestly think if you're gonna do Disneyland Resort, I think you need 3 days. Is really I think the sweet spot if you want to hit a lot of things. So the Friday we were there, it was our last day of the vacation. We went to Disney California Adventure, and that was the official start of the 70th anniversary celebration. Things were a little calmer over at DCA. I think a lot of the people were getting their popcorn buckets and sippers and doing this key, magic key scavenger hunt, I guess it is. You buy this key and you have to unlock locks, and a pin comes out of it. It looked really cool. But I think a lot of people were there, which really made sort of for a quieter, relaxing day at California Adventure. Now, two of my favorite lands in all the parks is at California Adventures, and that's Avengers Campus and Cars Land. And we had some amazing character interactions in Avengers Campus. I know it gets a lot of a lot of flack, but Red Guardian from Thunderbolts was out and about, and he was hysterical. I swear it's David Harbour walking around, but it's not. But man, he is so good. And I also had a really fun conversation with Ant-Man and the Wasp about there's a ride in Hong Kong that's themed to Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I was wearing a T-shirt from that ride that I had got a few years ago, and they saw the shirt, and so we had to have a conversation about the ride in Hong Kong and who can, Wasp can fly there, Ant-Man can't fly there. Like they were in character the whole time. It was so much fun. But like these are the moments that really stick with me. And I always leave California Adventures with a few of these stories. In California Adventure, also we found a 70th anniversary exclusive beer. We love a park exclusive beer. It's at the Carl Strauss stand in San Francisco area. Which that's our first time we were in that area. It's so cute. They have all the places still, all the restaurants, but it was really just how it's themed. It's really cute. Um, that was a good beer. Check that one out if you're over there. Toy Story Mania sort of, added a little 70th touches to it. It was cute. I was expected to be in a long ride. I think it was line. We were in like Toy Story Mania line for 20 minutes. Like that's unheard of. Um, But it was a good day. It was full of character moments and it was just unhurried. We got some food, got some drink. And now, in true road trip fashion, we're making a quick pit stop. But instead of snacks, I've got something a little different for you. Spring is almost here, which means it's the perfect time to start planning our next adventures. To make it even more fun, I created a free bingo card filled with unique experiences, like visiting a roadside attraction, exploring a quirky museum, or my personal favorite, buying road trip snacks like a kid left unattended in the store. And here's the best part. Each episode of this podcast can help you with ideas to fill in a square. Ready to start checking off those boxes? Download your free bingo card at theroamingyeti.com and get inspired for your next trip. And it was just a really good way to wind down our vacation. And even more importantly, this is why we did it. We wanted to try this. We were taking the red eye home. And in the past, we just sort of end up driving around and waiting, like, you're just sort of in this limbo thing. And I will highly recommend doing a theme park before getting on the plane. We were tired. We were ready to sit down for 5 hours. But it was just a really good way to fill up that day. So I will say that that was a very good and productive experiment as well. Now, I want to share our experience at FanFest, which was at Universal Studios Hollywood. Now, while we totally had decided we were going to do Universal, that was part of our original itinerary. The FanFest was a last minute addition, and I'm so glad we made room for it. We had seen some photos online and some videos, and it just looked like too much fun to pass up. So FanFest was an after-hours ticketed event. We bought a ticket that actually allowed us into the park starting at, I think it was 2 or 2:30, which gave us a solid 5 hours to explore the park before the event officially kicked off. So that gave us enough time to hit the rides. Plus, we did an express lane pass, so we could, you know, cut a lot of the lines. So we were really able to hit pretty much everything we wanted to. I finally got to see Super Nintendo World for the first time. It like I've seen pictures and videos, but it's beautiful. It's really cool. It's like stepping into the game. Um, I'm not a huge Nintendo person. I don't know all the theming, but it was very cool, and we had a really good time in there. And of course, we made time for my personal favorite, the Studio Tram Tour. I was sad to see that they had cut the Fast and Furious section, but I'm excited to see they are doing a roller coaster there that looks really cool. I'll never ride. There's loops and all kinds of things going on. Um, and I definitely miss seeing the family. But one cool addition to the tram is the set from the movie Nope. Um, it was really cool, eerie. I haven't seen the movie. I guess I should. It'll have even more meaning to me, but that was a neat addition. They did something with sound. So definitely I love that Studio Tram Tour. I love all the behind the scenes stuff. We know that. No surprise there. Now on to FanFest itself. I would say this event is more for fans. I know it's called FanFest. I know. Everyone's like, duh. But I feel like this isn't really a theme park event. This is like a fan event. Especially if you are a fan of the specific franchises that they have there. Um, and I think that's what made it really special. They leaned more into the studio side of things than the theme park side of things. And we were mainly there for two things: Back to the Future for family, and Star Trek for my husband. He's a big Star Trek fan. So there were tons of fandoms represented. I wasn't familiar with some of them. But we saw a scavenger hunt in Nintendo Land. There were extra activities and creatures in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. That area is so gorgeous at night, and then it had projections up on Hogwarts. It was gorgeous. There were meet and greets with Elphaba and Glinda from Wicked, and there was even a Dungeons and Dragons quest experience that ended up being a lot of fun. I don't know a lot about Dungeons and Dragons, but that experience was very cool. And just the details and the sets and everything, very cool. Our Star Trek experience was fun. I have to be honest, it was a little underwhelming, especially after going over from the Dungeons and Dragons. I think if it would have been flipped, we would have felt a little different. But the cool surprise was that they actually used one of the sets that was screen use, so that was fun for fans and a nice picture moment. The main event for us, and truly the reason we bought the tickets, was the Back to the Future experience. So we got back on that studio tram, and this time the premise was you are being transported to the backlot at a different time and place. And it was the night of the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. Now, this whole setup was so immersive, even from the moment before you got on the trams. There was a character handing out a Save the Clock Tower flyers, probably one of my favorite souvenirs I've ever received. It was so cool. Um, and so the immersion started early. So the whole setup was immersive. There were actors roaming the streets and characters, Doc Brown, Marty, it was just surreal. They were interacting with each other. Biff was there picking on people. So the characters are interacting with fans, they're interacting with each other, and they're sort of just going through the whole night. Um and we got our picture taken with Einstein at the DeLorean, which was so totally cool for us. It was just you just felt like you were dropped in. So they had the band for the dance, and then they ran over to the clock tower waiting for that lightning strike. I don't know, it was just a very cool moment. People were encouraged to cosplay, and a lot did, especially at the Back to the Future. A lot of vest, a lot of Marty McFly vest. It was very fun. But just seeing these cosplayers and the enthusiasm and the love for these franchise, like it really helped remind me just how much I love pop culture and what I'm trying to do here with Pop Culture Passport and the Roaming Yeti. Um, it- FanFest wasn't a fun event. It was a little bit of magic, and I hope Universal keeps doing more of these. I know they have some summer things with Jaws, and I think it's cool. Like, it's just really fun for fans to get involved and just get a break from reality for a few minutes. You know what I'm saying? Um, and again, it was a cool thing to do. I hope they're doing more. Even though I'm gonna be a little jealous that I don't live closer if they do more. So after all that theme park magic with seeing Walt's apartment, which I think I forgot to mention, um, I just love seeing his apartment. We've actually toured it as part of California Disney Adventures trip, but just seeing the light there, it's always emotional. Having fun with the Avengers, and you would think that was our trip. No, we did so much in LA, and here's where I'm gonna do something a little different. Rather than walk you through every single stop we made, I I want to try something. And I hope you like it. If you do, let me know. If you don't, let me know as well. I went through my photos and my journal notes, and I pulled out some of my favorite moments, with an idea I've been playing around with for a while. So superlatives. I should have picked something that was easier to say. So think of this as sort of quirky end of year um, yearbook, but it's for a trip. So these are sort of just the things that stood out to me, and I just wanted to share with you. So the first one is the most wait, what moment? This is what surprised me the most, and I have to say, this happened very well, the first day of our trip, second stop after Randy's Donuts. Um, so it took me a while to thank goodness I had put it in the journal, or I wouldn't have remembered it. We were heading into Hollywood to visit Larry Edmond's bookstore, and we pulled into the parking lot, and my husband had gone to pay, and I see him, like, sort of talking to the attendant, and they're sort of looking at a phone together, and he comes back to the car and they're like, "We have a new pope." And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Oh, the smoke just went up. There's a new pope." So we went over to where the parking attendant was just to sort of see the video. They hadn't announced who it was at that point. But like here we are in a parking lot with someone we don't know at all. I'm just sharing this massive global event, and it was just really, really fun and surreal, and the kind of thing you don't expect, but like it just sticks with you and you reminds you like what a small world it is, and how to just sort of embrace the fun. Now, next is my most stepped into a movie moment. And this is a scene that felt straight out of a film. Now, you might think I was going to say something from FanFest, but no. We pulled up to Bob's Market in Angelino Heights, and even though it looks just like hundreds of corner stores you'll find in LA or really anywhere, there's something a little different about Bob's Market, and that's because it's not just any market. It stands in for Toretto's Market, the family business in the Fast and Furious film. Yeah, and also just down the block from it is the Toretto house, and we had to visit both. Of course we did. Um, you don't expect a movie location to, like, feel like the movie, but, like, this one does. I'm used to going to studios and seeing those kind of things, but to, like, see someone's house that stands in for another house was really, really cool. Um, we actually went back a second time, because we realized we forgot to do some we forgot to do some photos. We sorta just, like, drove by, quick took photos, and didn't really spend any time there, so we went back. Now the coolest thing was when we went back, Bob's Market actually had some wood up and stuff. It looked like they were maybe getting ready to put signs for a different business on it, and the Toretto house was seeming to get painted. So we know they're doing Fast and Furious 11. We know they're going to try to film as much in LA. So maybe we saw pre-production. I can hope so. let's let's go with that. Um but, like, it was just cool to see. It was the one place we went where there were other people both times snapping photos too, and even though we didn't talk, there was just sort of that head bob, unspoken, that we were all now just, part of the Toretto family. So, it was just one of those honestly stepped into a movie moments that I wasn't really expecting, but it definitely happened. So, next is my most only only in LA moment. Um, and there were a lot of these, but this one was a lot of fun. So, after walking Hollywood Boulevard and, dodging five Spider-Men and street preachers and an overwhelming mix of noise, um, we slipped into the Roosevelt Hotel, and we were looking at the lobby and stuff, and a friend of mine, Denise Gordon from the I Could Live Here podcast, told me about the poolside restaurant. So we made our way to the poolside of the Roosevelt Hotel, not really knowing what to expect. Like, this place was like an oasis. Like, it's gorgeous. You would not believe there's like a building between you and um, Hollywood Boulevard. It was peaceful. It was quiet. It was gorgeous. So we decided to have lunch and a drink and just sort of unwind at lunch. It was just really cool. Felt very old Hollywood. And it really just felt like the most LA thing ever for us. Now, The best unexpected win or a hidden gem we almost missed. The built another hotel. The Biltmore Hotel wasn't even on our original itinerary, but I'm so glad we wandered in. It's known as a filming location for everything from Ghostbusters to Agent Carter, and yes, Taylor Swift's Delicate video. That's why we went in the first place. And this place feels so much like a New York hotel, which I'm assuming is one reason it's used so much. But we just sort of found this spot in the lounge and we sat there and had a drink and just like taking in the grandeur of the space and reading signs of what had taken place through history there. It was just so cool to see. Like you can almost hear the echoes of film crews and characters from over the decades. And it wasn't packed with tourists. It was a quiet hotel lounge, beautiful lobby, and it was not on our itinerary, but I'm so glad we took the time and did that little detour. So, like I said on this trip, I sort of had a lot of shifts in in perspectives. I was feeling pretty run down creatively, and so I wanted to sort of talk about the biggest creative spark for me, and it's really where my storytelling gears started like turning again. Um, and it was discovering, it was that I can do storytelling and travel. Um, and that was really cool for me because there's this emotional pull of the Griffith Park carousel, where Walt used to take his kids. And then there's the cinematic spotting of TV filming locations at the Warner Brothers studios. Um, I just kept finding moments that reminded me why I started this whole quirky pop culture traveling thing in the first place. The stories are everywhere, and I love being part of them. I love sharing them. So it was just one of those trips that really sparked the creativity, and I hope you enjoy some of the stuff I come up with here. Now, here's for my purest fangirl moment. This was just an unfiltered, joyful pop culture swoon. And this one it had to be the Warner Brothers Studio Tour. Everywhere I looked, I spotted a set or facade from one of my favorites. The parking lot from the studio, if you know that scene, you know that scene. Um, Also their golf carts from the studio, the food truck from Shrinking. There were even they were showing these fire escapes, and I was like, gosh, that really looks like the one from Rent. And next thing I know, our tour guide's like, and this was used in the movie Rent. I was like, I knew it. Why do I know that? But the moment that caught me off guard was seeing the entrance set to Abbott Elementary. The beautiful mural and stuff, that's there. Like we drove right by it. And you could just picture the teachers standing outside the school, and the raised beds from the garden goofballs. Like it just made the whole place feel alive. And now every time I watch Abbott Elementary, I think back to that moment, and again, total pure fangirl moment. I was not expecting to feel like that, but there I was on the Warner Brothers lot, totally into what I was seeing. Now, my favorite shop or find, I expected to enjoy the last bookstore, and I did. That place, if you have not been and you have a trip to LA, definitely go there. But Larry Edmonds' bookshop was one that really stuck with me. It's tucked away in Hollywood, and it's filled to the brim with books about movies, TV, theater, and all things entertainment. So it's a very niche bookstore. But we found everything from scripts about from Reservoir Dogs and Spider-Man, vintage costume design books, which we may have left with one of those. Some were used, some new, but I think each book had a story of its own to tell, honestly. The person working there, we chatted with them about the shop. He offered, hey, if you're looking for something specific, email me and I'll try to track it down for you. it was our first stop after Randy's, and it was just we really felt welcomed and like, oh, this is one of those places that I'm probably only gonna find in LA and maybe New York, but it was very cool. So my best food moment. This is another one I wasn't expecting, but we went to a place called Pickwick Pub. And we went there for the TV history, and we ended up staying for the steak pie. So the Pickwick Pub stands in for Poor Richard's Pub in The Office. There is a Poor Richard's Pub in Scranton. They didn't want to go film there, so they used Pickwick Pub. And it's tucked away in Woodlands Hill. It's, on a street. It's a pretty unassuming pub, but it turned out to be one of our best meals on the trip. So it was a mini steak pie, and it was just the dough and the filling, and it was so rich and comforting, and it was just what we needed that day. And trust me when I say also get the side of mashed potatoes with it. The atmosphere it was just it's a local place, really. It's warm and just full of stories. And we got talking with our server, and it turns out that she is part of the family that owns the place, and she happily shared details about the show's filming and what it meant for the pub. She was actually the bartender in the episode. She said you can see like her shoulder or something. It was just really a cool moment to go to this filming location and have really good food. We talked to two people next to us that had lived through the wildfires and were telling us about it. um, it was just a really cool community place and just nice to just talk and have these conversations on top of, um, chasing a little bit of TV TV location. So my next superlative is if these walls could talk, a place rich in history, nostalgia, or emotional weight. We didn't even have to get to ride it, and it still gave me goosebumps. What was it? It was the Griffith Park Carousel, and I just couldn't you could feel it. You could feel the weight of history and imagination blending together. The ride's closed right now, but we did get to see the structure and a few photos, but this is where Disneyland began. Like, this is the idea, not in a boardroom or pitch meeting, but a simple park bench where he was watching his daughters and thought there should be a place they can all go to and even the adults can have fun. So it was just the stories, the like I said, there was just like the vibe was there. You could just feel it. I hope to see it operating someday, but even standing outside, it was just a meaningful stop. And I think that's why when we went to Disneyland, because we saw a few other places that Walt had been to and lived. And I think that really just added to the emotions when we walked into Disneyland. So the last one I want to do is the most unexpected delight of the trip. And this one cracks me up. We went to see the Thunderbolts at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood. El Capitan is owned by Disney, and we had already seen Thunderbolts, but we knew at El Capitan they had the costumes on display, and we had some time, so we decided to do like the morning viewing of Thunderbolts. So we decided let's head to Hollywood and check it out. What we didn't plan for was that we would be in a group of high school students on a field trip. Now, I believe I heard them say it was a leadership group, which also cracked me up because how LA is it that a high school senior leadership group goes to see a movie for their field trip, specifically Thunderbolts. So, but we were like, oh no, like, is this going to be loud? How's it going to be? Those kids were great. One, the teachers all took phones during, everyone had to hand in their phones um, during the movie. But It was so fun. They had not it became obvious they had not seen it yet. Like I said, we had. So we knew what was gonna happen, and it was really fun to be there with their reactions. Like, this group of high school seniors having the same reaction at the same time. It was like, that's what you go to the movies for, like, right? Like, that just shared experience. Um and it really reminded me of what it feels like to be a fan, just, like, caught up in that moment, letting yourself enjoy something fully and loudly. So, was that that was just an unexpected event, like I said. I think we ended up in other field trip apparently May is field trip month in LA, everywhere else I know, but, at Griffith Observatory, we ran into a lot of field trips, and then the day we were in Disneyland Park, um, I think it was grad night, so we were with a lot of students then too, but, again, a lot of fun, um, a lot I mean, their field trips are much better than the field trips I took, but I digress. So, like I said, this trip has really created some major core memories for me, and there are still many parts, like, I haven't even scratched the surface that, I'll revisit in future episodes. And I just wanted to sort of share this episode in this format, because it really comes straight from the heart and my journal and how I felt about the trip. Like, Los Angeles, it's so full of stories and people telling stories. Like, you go somewhere and you see these people on laptops and you're like, they're writing scripts and stories. Um, so it's no wonder that this place really made me want to tell better stories. So hopefully, stay tuned for more of those. And with that, we add another stamp to our pop culture passport. I hope that this episode inspires you to get out and explore all that is quirky and cool, even in your own backyard. Follow, download, and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Tell a friend and leave a review if you like what we're doing. It really helps the show to grow. You can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Just search for The Roaming Yeti. Keep roaming and finding your fun.